One game down without Paolo Banchero. What did we learn about who this new Orlando Magic team is? We're still figuring it out today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is November 2nd, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, what did we learn about who the Orlando Magic are and who they need to be in their first game without Paolo Banchero? We'll break down the Magic's loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, plus Tristan Silva's big debut. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Plus, you can now subscribe to the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter. It's the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That is Monday through Friday. Of course, I'm not writing a newsletter for Saturday. But let's dive into it. Before we dive into it, I got one more thing I got to say. I got one more thing I got to read before we dive into it. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, now we can begin. Now we can start diving in. What we were going to see in this game, in Friday's game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, was honestly a complete mystery. We did not know how this thing was going to work out. We did not know what the state of the team is. We did not know what this is going to actually look like. And I fervently believe the Magic can still compete, even with Paolo Banchero out. I fervently believe the season is not over. The season is not lost. We're not about to start tanking for Cooper Flag or one of the other great prospects in this draft, which the Magic have 2 first-round picks in. But it's still going to take some time for this team to figure out how to function without Paolo. When your best player leaves, you are built around your best player. And while every NBA team is capable of winning, and the Magic are going to get wins here in the next 2 months. They're not going to go 0-20 here. The trick is, can they win consistently enough to keep the boat steady? Can they win consistently enough to keep all their dreams still within reach? That's the big question. And we're obviously not going to answer that question in full after one game. In fact, I would argue this is the game where the results matter the least. I had a few Cavs fans jump in on me and say, the Cavs are so much better than the Magic. I'm just like, dude, I was like, first off, dude, we're playing without our best player. And secondly, I didn't care if the Magic won or lost this game. Cleveland is a very good team, playing the best basketball in the league right now. They're a tough team. They're a really good team. And the Magic suffered trauma. Like they suffered a very hard piece of news. And it's something that shook this team to its foundations. Now, like, Paolo's going to be back. He's not going to be out forever. A team has to still find a way. So we don't want to make excuses for them, but this first game after a major injury, yeah, it felt like the Magic were pressing. It felt like the Magic were trying to do too much, especially early in the game, to make up for his absence. Let's make this abundantly clear. There is no replacing Paolo Banchero. There is no doing what Paolo Banchero does. The Magic need their players to be themselves more. but they don't need them to be Paolo Banchero. And I felt early in the game, the Magic did not have early success. They missed some open shots. Cleveland is really good at running. Teams are trying to run on the Magic to catch them before their defense gets set. The Magic created a recipe early in the game to allow Cleveland to take the lead early. And look, Donovan Mitchell made some ridiculously tough shots as well. But that first quarter, maybe quarter and a half, really felt like the Magic were kind of in a daze, where they were still just getting their bearings and getting their legs under them again. But you got to push forward. You got to find a way. You've got to develop who you are, your core identity. And over the course of the final 2.5 to 3 quarters, the Magic perhaps can exit this game saying, okay, we can still compete with the best teams in the league. We can still find our path, our way to win. If you've listened to the show during the dark ages, during the dark periods, Steve Clifford used to always say, we have to have our way to win. And I took that and said, there are like 5 or 6 things the Magic have to do to win games. And under the Steve Clifford teams, they had to do about 4 or 5 of them to win most games. And they're very good at doing those 4 to 5 things. This team has, 5 or 6, maybe 6 or 7 things that they have to do to win. Against really bad teams, they could get away with 3 or 4. Against pretty good teams, they could still get away with 5 or 6. They don't have to do all of those things. What's changed now without Paolo is the Magic have to do more of those things. They have to be sharp. But as we saw through the course of this game, the Magic do have that pathway. The Magic do have that ability to compete at the highest levels. Yes, it takes some key factors. The Magic have to make shots. 45.6% from the floor, pretty good overall, but they really struggled in the first half. Only 43.2%, 4 for 16 on threes. They went 7 for 17 on threes in the second half. Huge factor. Make some shots. They've got to reduce turnovers. 14 turnovers for 23 points. The raw turnover number, not terrible. But Orlando had 8 of those 14 turnovers in the first half, 17 points off turnovers. So that's 6 for 7 points off turnovers in the second half. Much better job. The Magic have to force turnovers. They have to be disruptive on defense. In the second half, the Magic were much better at that. In the second half, the Magic forced 6 turnovers for 8 points, including all 6 of them coming actually in the third quarter when the Magic cut the deficit down to as little as 10 points. The Magic have to be sharper overall. They still have to get downhill into the paint. Believe it or not, the Magic won the paint in this game, scoring 56 points in the paint. I believe that is their high for the season against Cleveland's 46. They've got to get to the foul line. Magic was 16 for 24 from the foul line, missing those free throws, 8 free throw misses, including 3 from Mo Wagner, as well as 2 from Franz Wagner. Rare bad free throw night for Franz. Getting to the foul line is still essential for this team, even though Paolo is the main free throw merchant. What should be clear then is the Magic's identity, who the Magic are and what they have to do to win, has not changed. How they get there, how they do those things, what they're asking of players like Franz Wagner, like Jalen Suggs, who had a career high night. We'll talk about him here in a moment. What the Magic have to do to get to those things, that's what's different. And Franz can't be Paolo Banchero. He's not 250 pounds. He's not bulldozing guys. But he's got to draw contact. He's got to get to the line. He's got to get downhill. Jalen Suggs has got to be more of a playmaker and creator. And look, Jalen had an awesome game. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals and a block. He had 3 turnovers, 10 for 20 shooting, 7 for 8 from the foul line, 1 for 7 from 3. It's a rare game where he did not make threes. If he makes threes in this game, we might be talking about a comeback here. But what really stood out to me about Jalen Suggs is for the first time in 2 years, he's attacking off the dribble. He's trying to get downhill. And as if to make this point, the first quarter, he looked tentative. The first quarter, it looked like he was still trying to feel out what he's supposed to do. Like I said, the Magic's identity hasn't changed, but how they reach those goals, that's what's changed. That's what they're asking more of. And I think the Magic felt very uncomfortable with it in the first quarter. That's when this game was lost. The Magic got outscored 34-18 in the first quarter. That's where the game was lost. 34-16 in the first quarter. They're down 18. The Magic got blitzed in the first quarter. And some of that is Cleveland made a lot of tough shots. Some of that is Orlando turned the ball over. Some of that is Orlando didn't make shots and Cleveland ran on those misses. The Magic needed time to settle in and figure themselves out. And as the game progressed, because the Magic obviously won the rest of the game, as the game progressed, the Magic showed that they can compete, that they can hold firm. Or did they make a run to truly threaten the lead? No, they got it down to 10 a couple times. Made mistakes, had a rash of turnovers. Cleveland made them pay, extended the lead back out to 18. This game was never in doubt. And Cleveland didn't have to turn themselves back on. We can admit that. We can say that. But this game isn't about Cleveland for the Magic. It's about what the Magic learned about themselves and what the Magic learned about how they can compete and what they need to do to win. The Magic will still be figuring this stuff out. This is going to be a rough road trip. Dallas is really good. OKC is really good. Indiana, obviously, we know is very, very tough. They get New Orleans next Friday. They'll scratch out a win somewhere. That's just how the league works. But the Magic are capable of competing. And it's harder now, as we knew it would be. But I think Friday's game showed that the Magic are game to compete. And now they've got to adjust. Now they got to improve. Now they got to tweak. Now they got to get better and be more consistent and put together the 48 minutes that they need to win again. Big debut, though. The opportunity came for Tristan de Silva. We'll talk about what the rookie showed us in his first meaningful minutes coming up in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. FanDuel has so many great NFL offers to get you set for Sunday's big games, including going through the four teams. Miami Dolphins plus 5.5 at Buffalo. The Jacksonville Jaguars plus 7.5 at Philadelphia. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday Night Football plus 9.5 at the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're looking to get into today's NCAA action, UCF still 6.5-point favorites over Arizona, hoping to snap that long losing streak. Florida playing Georgia, 14.5-point dogs. Florida State, 2.5-point home dogs against North Carolina. A lot of the Magic odds have been taken off the board. I don't know if they've been put back up yet. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste $100. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The important thing to remember about Paolo being out is that this is opportunity. Next man up. Every team says it. It's one of the bigger cliches in sports. The Magic are going to need support from throughout the roster. And again, why I'm not like, A, Cleveland's a really good team, but B, I was not concerned with the outcome of Friday's game. Look, winning matters, losing sucks. I agree with all that. I expect the Magic to win. I expected the Magic to play better. I know what they're capable of. I believe in what they're capable of. And they didn't reach that potential in Friday's game. But I was more concerned in Friday's game about the effort and intention and then finding their path. And I think Jamal Mosley was also trying to find that path. He was playing everybody. He was trying different combinations, different lineups. Wendell Carter was out with knee tendonitis. Goga Batadze was out, so he had one true center available. He was throwing a lot of stuff against the wall. And some of it worked and some of it didn't. The Magic are going to change themselves a little bit. Their defense is a little bit less frenetic. I think they need to dial back the pressure a little bit. I think they're overextending their pressure. They need to do a better job keeping guys in front because especially Jalen Suggs, he's chasing steals and getting out of position and he hasn't been able to recover as effectively. And now that he's going to have more of an offensive role, like we'll see Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on more of the primary players for the other team. He guarded Donovan Mitchell in this game. Did okay, not great. It was probably one of his worst defensive games of the season. The Magic are still figuring themselves out. And again, I think they're going to have to figure out the right mix defensively because the defense hasn't been great. This vaunted defense hasn't locked in. Like, yes, they had a really nice fourth quarter against Chicago, and they've had like these killer, devastating moments, but it hasn't been a 48 or even a 40-minute effort from them. And with Paolo down, they're going to have to lean on the defense. The defense is going to have to carry this team. And I think the defense improved dramatically after that first quarter. I think the Magic were better on that end, but never enough to get all the way back in. Never enough to dictate and control the tempo of the game. It was enough to give the offense some life and allow them to make some runs and feed the offense a little bit. But we know the Magic can play better defense. But Paolo's absence also brings with it opportunity. And it's not just opportunity for Franz to be the number one option or for Jalen to be the number one option. It's opportunity for someone like Tristan da Silva, who in a crowded lineup didn't really have a place in the rotation. Now, I say this every year, and I'm going to repeat this again. Everybody's going to be needed at some point this season. The Magic are going to need Corey Joseph here. And honestly, I want to talk a little bit more about Cole Anthony and his struggles. I think we'll get to that next week. I think Corey Joseph, especially because the Magic need like a more traditional point guard, I think Corey Joseph needs to play. I think the Magic need to give Corey Joseph some run and give him some minutes, especially with Anthony Black not in the second unit right now. The Magic got their first really good look at their rookie. Tristan da Silva played his first meaningful minutes of the season and played exceptionally well. Played really well. 17 points, 6 for 8 shooting, 3 for 3 from 3, 2 for 3 from the foul line, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. A really solid game. From the moment he stepped on the floor, he scored on a cut to the basket and an easy layup. He hit a 3. Everything that we saw in Summer League, now that he's playing, now that he played real minutes, he played 20 minutes in this game. Now that he played real minutes, now that he got a chance to get his legs under him, now that he was playing significant minutes, Tristan da Silva looked every bit as poised and as comfortable as he did in Summer League. He was moving into the open spaces. He was available to shoot. He made the right play to pass it or to drive if the shot wasn't there. We know that Tristan da Silva is a player. And he played really well. He earned, it's one game, so I won't say he completely earned trust, but he's someone that I think the Magic know that they'll be able to rely on to not make anything beyond rookie mistakes. I would say da Silva, despite being 23, still looks like a rookie defensively. I think that generally he was in the right spots, but George Niang moved him off his spot a few times. He got bumped out of his spot, and so that's normal for rookies. He needs a summer in the Magic's weight training program. He needs a summer of like doing an NBA weight training program, and again, that's normal for rookies. I'm not going to freak out about that. But there are a lot of bright spots in this game. We're going to go through the box score in a minute, but there were a lot of bright spots in this game, from Jalen Suggs' career night to Franz Wagner being a better playmaker and getting downhill and having a really good game. Like, I was like, when he made his first shot, I was like exhaling because it's like, okay, he could score in this building. Unlike Gary Harris, who can't shoot worth anything in that building. The Magic had bright spots, and Tristan Silva is absolutely one of them. He showed us that he can contribute, that he can play at this level, that he can hold his own, and especially first time as a rookie playing meaningful minutes. That's a big deal. Obviously it's been made a little bit nationally that until I believe a couple nights ago with Dalton Connect scoring 17, no rookie had scored 15 points in a game through the first week of the season. To see Tristan Silva get his first opportunity and hit that mark, that tells you who the Magic got. They got a guy who was ready when his number was called. And if everybody plays with the intelligence and mindfulness that De Silva played with in this game, the Magic are going to be fine. They're going to hold their own. They're going to have chances to win games. And that's something to be really excited about with a guy like De Silva. Again, it's one game. Let's not blow it out of proportion. Like everybody was saying, we can't overreact to one game. They're still learning. They're still figuring things out. But, Tristan De Silva is gonna play a role and is gonna help this team get through this next month and a half with Paolo on the shelf. Let's go through the rest of the box score. We're going to hit that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Gametime. There's a lot of events going on here in Central Florida, whether it's shows over at the Dr. Phillips Center, getting ready for the Orlando Pride and their playoff berth, Orlando City coming back home next Saturday for a do-or-die Game 3 against Charlotte FC, getting ready for the Magic to return home Friday against New Orleans Pelicans, or heading over to UCF to see the Knights take on Arizona for the Space Game. Gametime has your ticket to the game. And with Gametime picks, they will filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Gametime is frankly so easy to use. You just find your event, and they have the whole list of tickets. They can give you the price range. They can tell you which deals are hot, which deals are good, which deals you should wait on. They have so much information for you to make sure you get the exact seats you want to the game at the best price. In fact, with Gametime's lowest price guarantee, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference if you find those tickets cheaper elsewhere. Their all-in pricing feature, which you have to toggle on, shows you the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. I know that is the big scare when you're buying tickets online these days, is those service fees double the price of the tickets, and everybody hates that. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. All right, let's go through the final box scores. The Orlando Magic fall to the Cleveland Cavaliers 120-109. I gotta let's start with Jalen Suggs. I gotta give a shout out to this guy. He spoke to the media after the game. You could tell he was pretty despondent and frustrated with the loss. I think the Magic have a lot of reasons to hold their head up high. I think the Magic have a lot of things that they can build on in this game, but it is impossible not to recognize that this game meant something. Not only was it the Magic's first national TV appearance of the season, unfortunately, first game without Paolo, unfortunately, essentially a blowout. The game, I didn't watch the ESPN broadcast. I watched the FanDuel Sports Network broadcast. But this game meant something to Jalen Suggs. He said after the game, he was determined not to lose in this building again. And I believe, unfortunately, this is the only time the Magic head to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in the regular season. I believe Cleveland has 2 more trips to Orlando, and that's the season series, unless we get matched up with them in the added on games for the NBA Cup. I get that, man. I am as a fan, I always held a grudge against teams that the Magic lost to in the playoffs. I think there was something spiritual about returning to that place and trying to prove themselves that they had moved on beyond Game 7. And unfortunately, the circumstances didn't really allow that. Jalen said it really well after the game. After the first quarter, the Magic played well. There's a lot to clean up. I'm not going to say they played like super well, but the Magic played competitive basketball and enough to win. Enough to give them a chance to win. If not for that first quarter blitz, if not for just falling behind in the first quarter and having to play uphill. If there's one thing that's going to be clear over the next month and a half, first quarters are going to matter. The Magic getting off to good starts, being in the game from the start, that's going to matter. And it's not like the Magic shot themselves out of the game, that they started just taking tons of threes. Like, I was following other games around the day, and like, no doubt it was depressing being down 20 very quickly in this game. But credit to the Magic, they didn't quit. They didn't stop fighting. Like, the Pistons lost by 30 to the Knicks, and that was a really bad loss. There have been some really bad losses. And look, the Magic have taken some bad hits this year between the Memphis game, between the fourth quarter in Chicago, between the first quarter here. But the one thing we know about the character of the team is they're not going to stop fighting. They may have only 3 good quarters in them in this game, and that was enough to cost them. The same thing happened in Memphis. They had really a bad quarter and a half, and that cost them that game. And look, that's how it goes. That's how it goes in the NBA. The margins are that tight. But the Magic did not stop, and Jalen, Suggs, and Franz Wagner. Like, honestly, the whole team is a big reason for that. They know they have stuff to work on. They did not waste the opportunity to work on it, and did not waste the opportunity to prove to themselves, at the very least, that they can play this game. I would say this too, and I talked to a few friends that cover the Cavs. It felt like Cleveland was motivated for this one too. I think as much as Orlando wanted to prove that they could win at Cleveland and that their 7-game series wasn't a fluke, I think Cleveland very much wanted to make a statement to Orlando. They may not admit this publicly. I think they were shocked by how much Orlando pushed them around. And I think, especially for like Darius Garland's work was really noticeable. I think that they wanted to set a physical tone with this Magic team, that to say essentially, you're not in our class anymore. We advanced, we beat you in the series, and we're the title contenders. You've got to wait your turn, or you're not with us. And look, the Magic didn't have Paolo Banchero. Like, I had a few Cavs fans jump in and start dancing on the grave a little bit. I'm just like, we don't have our best player. What do you want us to do? Like it's not an excuse. Y'all won. You're better. Whatever. There's a lot of emotion in this game. And so I like, this was not the right game to have to deal with all this newness. Like, Darius Garland was hip checking Jalen Suggs. Like, there's, not that there's bad blood, but I think Darius Garland wanted to prove to everyone that he's a different player than he was in that series when he did not play well. He had 25 points, 8 for 16 shooting, 3 for 9 from beyond the arc. He used all of his fouls. He had 5 fouls. Donovan Mitchell had 22 points. He just kind of came out, set the tone early, and said, I think he had what he had in the first quarter. He had 13 points in the first quarter. He just kind of said, we're in control here. We're the ones. And so the Magic had to adjust. And again, not having your star player to kind of match that intensity, having guys who aren't used to setting that tone, that was the big challenge for Orlando. So I got to give credit to Jalen Suggs. I think he did set that tone, like maybe midway through the first quarter to the rest of the game. He needed some time to figure out how to attack and what his role was in the offense. But once he figured that out, this is as good as we've seen Jalen Suggs play on offense. Again, career high 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. I'm not quite ready to say that a Jalen Suggs triple-double is on the horizon. I want to see another effort like this one. But most times, if Suggs is going to give you 10 for 20 shooting, and again, he was 9 for 13 on 2-point shots, 28 points, 8 free throw attempts, 7 assists. If he's going to give you that, you're going to win a lot of games. And obviously, like, the trick now is to do it over and over and over again. we've seen Suggs take a big step offensively, but mostly as a catch and shoot option. That's easy to do when you have Paolo Banchero feeding you and sucking in the defense the way that he can. Now it's on Suggs to create that tension, to create that pressure on the rim, to create that pressure on the paint. And that's obviously an area that, like, he struggled with in his first 2 years. Like, we wanted to put guardrails on him because the turnovers were bad. He was struggling to finish at the rim. This was a good sign that he can take on that role. And again, obviously, we got to see him do it another game. But I was really impressed with how Suggs started to control the game, limited his mistakes, made good decisions, got downhill in the paint, created that tension, got to the foul line. The Magic are going to need all of that. And Suggs is going to have, Suggs and Franz, one of those two is going to have to score 20 to 25 points every game. And the other one's got to be in that 17 to 22 range. So again, credit to Jalen Suggs, credit to Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner finished with 17 points, 8 for 19 shooting, 1 for 3 from the foul line, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He did have 4 turnovers. Most of the turnovers came from the starters. That was the big issue in the game. There's only 3 turnovers off the bench, which is of note. I think Franz is not that he's going through the biggest transition, but I think early on he took on the responsibility of taking more shots. I like that he was more aggressive and assertive. He was trying to get downhill. He was trying to spin past Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. Like, look, Evan Mobley played some great defense on him. Evan Mobley's having a great start to the season. Franz still got shots that he likes, and he missed some of them. Like, so what? He missed some of them. I think Franz is going to need some time to understand the things that Paolo kind of understands implicitly: when to attack, when to be a playmaker, when to move the ball, when to do all these things. Franz is not naturally the star. But obviously now he has to step into that role. Obviously now he has to give the Magic that little bit more. And, again, it was a struggle in this game. He was 4 for 10 in the first half, which makes him 4 for 9 in the second half. So, balance, a little bit of balance there. I think he got more comfortable with it as the game went on. And it's just going to be about making sure that he stays involved and makes the right play. I think he tried like that wrong-footed layup that he likes to do. He's trying to dance around players. Like, dude, just burrow your shoulder into a guy and try and draw a foul. Make that pass. He's got to learn to read the defense. Like, I think he's a better passer, and he got assists in this game. Make that pass quicker. Make that pass sooner. And that's going to be the biggest challenge. Mo Wagner, a solid 14-point effort from him. The Magic, for some reason, were trying to post him up against Jared Allen a lot. And look, Mo's a very crafty post player. But he was someone that was helping get guys moving, but he works better with that bench unit. I think the Magic really miss Wendell Carter because Wendell's such a good screener. But a solid game overall. Anthony Black, 7 points, 3 for 8 shooting, 6 assists for him. Really good job pushing the tempo. I thought he found guys really well, but just finding his fit in this offense, trying to expand his role a little bit offensively is tough. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a solid offensive game, 7 points, 2 for 3 shooting, 1 for 2 from beyond the arc. Magic got to find a way to move the ball to get him more looks. Obviously, teams are happy to let Anthony Black shoot. They're still, I think, happy to let Jalen Suggs shoot, although I think that's going to change. The Magic got to find ways to get Kenny more involved. I thought Kenny looked more comfortable offensively, but again, just the ball wasn't moving as much. Magic still had 26 assists. So it wasn't like it wasn't moving, but it wasn't moving to him. And honestly, defensively, this was probably his worst game of the season. Just struggled to kind of keep Donovan Mitchell from getting to his spots and kind of staying with him, which is a hard thing to do. Tristan de Silva, like I said, off the bench, 17 points. Jett Howard with 9 points on 3 for 6 shooting from 3. So good effort there to see him get some shots. Defense still a work in progress with Jett, but still seeing some of the gains that we want to see from him. The Orlando Magic shoot 45.6% from the floor, 11 for 33 from beyond the arc. Again, they were 7 for, what were they the second half? Let me just get that number correct. 7 for 17 in the second half, so much better second half. 16 for 24 from the foul line. Those are lost points. You lose the game by 11. You're down 10 points trying to get over the hump. Missed free throws hurt, as do turnovers, 14 turnovers for 23 points. But Orlando wins the paint 56-46. A good effort getting downhill, getting to the basket, getting to the paint, getting to the foul line. At the end of the day, Orlando gets 14 second chance points to Cleveland's 7. They actually outscore Cleveland 21-20 on fast break points. They were 8 for 15, though, on fast break. So the Magic got to still be more efficient. They're still not a very efficient fast breaking team, but they're going to need those. The more the Magic are able to get in transition, get some easy baskets, the better this thing's going to be. And they got to use their defense to feed their offense. That was when they played their best in this game. The Cleveland Cavaliers defeat the Orlando Magic 120-109. The Magic are back in action Sunday in Dallas as this 5-game road trip continues. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can, of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them based on podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, you can check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. That is where I'm posting all my game articles immediately when they're done. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for the morning with Orlando Magic Daily. So if you want my immediate reactions to things, my Patreon page is the best place to go. As if all that wasn't enough, your favorite podcast, that's us, now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That is Monday through Friday. I am not doing one tonight. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back on Monday to recap the Magic's game against Dallas Mavericks, see if they can find the formula. We'll get to that on our next episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, don't forget, if you have not voted already, make a plan to vote on Tuesday. Tuesday is Election Day. I'm sure we're all very happy that all the ads and all the calls and all the texts are stopping. There's probably still going to be some stuff, but stuff after. But Tuesday is Election Day. If you have not done so already, please make your plan to vote. Every election is important, and you should participate in our democracy. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Wright. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.